In this Baldur's Gate character tactica, we're going to be exploring the Shaman. What's interesting about this character, it is the most recent character to be implemented in the game. BG has been through a number of releases over the years, tweaks and updates, character classes, character kits, and with the Shaman being the most recent, it's very, very unique in that it doesn't fully borrow from other character classes. It's not just a sub-kit, it is a completely different class. Layered over this is the fact that BG is set in the advanced Dungeons & Dragons system, and this character class is not native to that system. So we have a lot of unique opportunities, not only for narrative and roleplay, but also tactica. Now, within that framework, I also want to add the value of the Shaman, but not just this character class, other character classes that fall out of the range of NPCs. This is important for frameworking this character because how it interacts with the other NPCs is very, very important. Now, we've talked about this idea. Yes, you could solo run, you could hardcore run, you could no reload run, but for the most part, Baldur's Gate is meant to be played with a party. And in Advanced Dungeons & Dragons, as it's true with any D&D party, the strength of the party is what allows you to take on vastly more powerful monsters and encounters and things in the game. So you want this synergy. What are going to be your frontline fighters? What is going to be arcane support? What is going to be ranged support? Who's going to handle traps and unlocking chests? So often what you'll see, your primary character, if I play a fighter, there's other fighters in the game. If I play a wizard, there are other wizards, mages in the game. If you play a character class that doesn't exist as an NPC, that adds an entirely new level of exploring the game. And being that there is nothing like the Shaman in the game, this is going to be a very, very interesting experience. So within that framework, at its core, the Shaman borrows from the Druid template. I don't say class because it's a template in that its primary spells, its connection with the spirit world, the various forces, that's implemented through Druid spells. But it works like a sorcerer template in that you select as you level up the spells that you want to learn and they are locked in. And then you have casts per day. Now, this is where the first challenge comes in that if I'm playing a Druid, I have my spells per day, but I get to pick what I want to memorize or what I want to understand, what I want to connect with. And throughout the game, you get to mix and match and pick what's appropriate for that moment. Much like a sorcerer, the Shaman, you're burned in. You're like soul burned. You're burned in there. That's what you have. Well, this isn't so much a tactical problem for the Shaman because I love playing Druids in BG and AD&D, but the spells, especially given that Baldur's Gate is a combat engine, there's not as many spells that you need. And if you plan your character out, there's spells that become less useful very, very fast. Do I need to know alignment? Do I need Goodberry? I mean, hey, little 5 hit point bites. Well, I can fill up my entire inventory slots with that. Well, yeah, I guess I could do that and click them as we go, but there are other spells that are more potent and more powerful. So you're really going to be memorizing the best of the best. It's less or it's not even a limitation that you think. And taking the best of the Druid class spells and being able to fire them off as needed to the maximum amount, maximum spells per day, that's got some punch. So the Shaman is kind of like a Druid sorcerer arcane cannon in that you are going to be dealing damage and you are going to be dealing support. Now, second to this is a new class. It hasn't existed in the AD&D framework. So the developers had the opportunity to implement some new spells. You have spells that you automatically acquire on top of the Druid class that are kind of interesting. They've got some protection against magic. They've got some protection against negative attacks. You've got kind of a fireball-esque spirit explosion ball. You've kind of got a low-level acid fog. You've got some interesting spells in addition castable on top to the druid. The big interesting piece is the fact that you have this spirit dance. How this works, it's unique to the class. You're not going to move. You take a -4 armor class penalty. A lot of people seem fixed up on that -4 penalty. When you spirit dance, there's a matrix. It's kind of like the wild mage in reverse. You start doing this dance, and you're going to potentially summon a range of spirits that are going to fight for you. And the range, of course, the hit dice, the type of spirits, they level up as you level up. And as you level up, it pulls from this random chart. Now, what's interesting is the limit and the fact that you don't control them at all. They don't become clickies, but you can very quickly flood the table with these if you have some time to get the momentum going, because there's a chance of summoning every round. So this spirit dance is not the type of clicky ability where I go into battle and I pause and I do my spirit dance and just a bunch of stuff appears in addition to my other summons and I just flood the table. You got to kind of gear up. You kind of got to get that dance going. But it allows you to summon beyond the normal summons. So you can get quite an interesting army going. Now, the balance, of course, is as soon as you move, it breaks the dance and they vanish. So how do we utilize this? Well, -4 armor class, I don't really think that's ever made that much of a difference, because the way I use this dance is to go into an area, either scout it out ahead of time with one of my thieves, or kind of wizard eye and see what's going on. Or if I've played the game a bunch of times, I know what's coming up in this area. Park myself in a good spot, way in the back, and just start dancing for about 10 seconds before we begin the encounter. Get a couple of summons, get those going. Get up my other regular summons. Get my party into position, and then begin the combat. And what's nice is once you get these spirits going, they are added to, they are constantly refreshed, but you can't do anything else. So that means no casts. I'm not going to be able to cast any spells. That's really the trade-off. I mean, look, would I love to be able to do the dance and cast spells? Yes, but that would absolutely be broken. There needs to be some checks and balances. But if you've played a bard, especially if you've played a jester, you know how to use this. You know how to use this. You're not going to be able to, I can't use my spells and my bard song, one or the other. So learning when to use one or the other is key is spend, again, especially if you've played the jester. In terms of armor, you can wear leather, you can wear hide. You've got access to what I call simple weapons, clubs, quarterstaves, throwing axes, things like that. There are spears. There are a lot of interesting quarterstaves in the game. So I don't feel like those weapons are a limitation. I'm not necessarily a frontline fighter, but from the most part, I'm going to be using my spells in a support way, clickies, plus the class spirit spells that I have, plus the dance. It's a very, very interesting, fun, and different character class to play. Going back to the beginning, the implementation of it, it's not native to AD&D. So I find when I play this character class, it approaches the game from a lot of really different, interesting, and unique angles. And going back to filling up a party, what we were talking with that framework, being able to play a shaman as my primary tune, I've got the fighters, I've got the thieves, I've got the mages. Heck, I can even pick up the monk and the blackguard if I want and fill out the rest of my party with kind of those traditional D&D classes to have all of those bases covered. And then on top of that, have the tactica of the shaman.